Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, this is Orphanlast, and I have a little bit of an announcement to make, and I'm actually pretty excited to give you guys this announcement. But first I need to tell you guys a little bit of a backstory, okay? Now, it's only until recently that I've started to actually feel proficient when it comes to drawing backgrounds. For the longest time, if you asked the question, how do I draw the backgrounds to my drawings? The answer has pretty much been, well, you need to learn linear perspective. And the answer, it can still be that, but you have an alternative. You also have curvilinear perspective. But, you know, linear perspective is very difficult to learn. And yeah, you know, you don't necessarily have to draw with a ruler and such like that. You can freehand linear perspective, but, you know, the layer of accuracy and such like that may not exist as much. The process of making measurement lines and centering objects to other objects with measurement lines and such like that kind of goes a little bit to the wayside a little bit while you freehand it. But thing is, like, even if you're not using all the many different rules of linear perspective, that doesn't mean that you're going to come out with a good image. Even if you're a really good artist and everything like that, you can run yourself into trouble where you make an image that cannot be saved just simply because you don't know enough about perspective and you're just not doing it right. And linear perspective is a monster that I've been trying to conquer for years and years and years and years and years, and I still have not been able to master it, and that's some of the reason why I stopped teaching linear perspective. I do plan on getting back into it. In fact, I'll get more into that later, but yeah, I will teach linear perspective, but it's going to be a little bit more time. But yeah, you know, since I found myself really kind of gravitating towards curvilinear perspective, I found myself, you know, coming out with really good images, and so I wound up teaching you guys almost everything that I know about curvilinear perspective. There are a few things that I still have yet to teach. But really, the books that I've been looking at, they don't delve very deep into the subject. And I believe I've found every single book about curvilinear perspective because there aren't very many of them. And they range from being overpriced and only covering the basics, or on obscure websites and only covering the basics. So, you know, that led me to believe, well, maybe there's more information about curvilinear perspective that's in a different language, and that's exactly what I found. I found a very good book in a different language about curvilinear perspective, and this gets me excited. I looked at a bunch of sample images on a website and saw this is the perfect book about curvilinear perspective. I want this so bad. And so I purchased it, and it was extremely expensive. And once it got shipped to me, I flipped through the pages, and I saw and I currently see absolute brilliance inside of this book. But, you know, there's only so much that you can really understand without the actual description. So there's that language gap that I don't understand. And so I've found a translator, and his name is Nathaniel Diaz-Rao. I believe I'm pronouncing his name correctly. I hope I am. He's a really good guy. And in my future videos, I will continue to give him credit for the process that he will have in translating this book, and in turn basically learning curvilinear perspective so that I could teach it to you guys. Now, I am not translating this book so that I could this is what I am not going to do. I am not going to translate this book and then post it on some BitTorrent website where people can download it. I am not going to do that. I am not going to do anything illegal. That's some of the reason why I use free programs. I do not pirate. I mean, you will see uTorrent on my desktop from time to time, but there are times, genuinely and truly, there are times when you find a legitimate like copy of a program that maybe you even own, but the only way to download it is by using uTorrent or some sort of a torrent application of some sort. And so that's the only reason why it's on my desktop. And I haven't used that thing. I haven't used uTorrent in well, ever since I got my computer, really. Like, I just needed to download a few programs that I knew that I owned, and ever since then, I haven't used it. I just keep it around just in case I might need it again for a legitimate program. And so that's essentially it right there. I am translating this book purely for my own personal use. And as I continue to practice and learn more and more about linear perspective from this book, three-quarters of this book is about linear perspective. Okay, so I will be teaching linear perspective again as I learn it through this book and practice the techniques well enough to teach it. The rest of the book is about curvilinear perspective, so I will resume. Once I finish teaching curvilinear perspective, I will be teaching more on it at a later date, after a long pause, after I start going back into OpenTunes, and that's what I'm working towards, actually. I'm working towards working into OpenTunes again and teaching you guys more about that, because there's parts of that program that I haven't taught yet. But I'm not just going to translate this book and then spew out verbatim what's inside of this book. What I'm planning on doing is, learning from the book, and as I'm practicing and learning and everything, there are things that you learn while you do it that are not in the book, things that you observe that are not in the book. And those observations, those things that I learn independently of any resource, those are the sorts of things that I plan on teaching to you guys. And that's essentially what I've been doing this whole time while teaching curvilinear perspective. I have a resource. I learn from it. I find that I'm observing something, or I have questions, and then once I'm able to answer the question myself, I include it in on the tutorial, so that it winds up being a really big help to you guys, not just something that kind of leaves you out in the lurch. I try to include as much information as I can possibly provide for you guys, and that pretty much covers it for this video, at least with my narrative. So in summary, I found a book that teaches everything that you could possibly want to learn about linear and curvilinear perspective, and I plan on translating it, learning it, and sharing the knowledge with you guys. And special thanks to Nathaniel Diaz-Rao. Special thanks to him, because he's helping out with that, because he really doesn't need to. I live in some horrible, like I said earlier. Earlier I kind of complained that my life is in shambles and there's nothing I can do about it, and it's true. My living conditions suck, and I'm just I keep buying things for these tutorials when I could be improving my living conditions, and I'm doing it because I need to get out of construction. The potential that I might have in possibly getting into an art career is more important than my comfort right now. It's more important than anything. And so I take you guys, my subscribers, very seriously, even if that means I have to live in squalor and just live depressingly, I guess. This channel comes first, because as I see it, this channel is my future. An art career has to be my future in some way. So yeah, once again, that pretty much covers it for the narrative of this particular video. There is more, quite a bit more in this video, Please feel free to continue watching. I think you'll like it. I continue drawing things further and further out into the background. I am not finished with this image. In fact, I don't consider any of this image to be finished work at all. I consider this, all that I've done right here is just a sketch. I plan on doing some very, very fine refinements to this entire image. And I've been thinking about ways that I could do it. Krita has a lot of stabilization options for brushes and such like that, but sometimes, you know, you have a line that goes on and on and on and on, and it needs to be so precise that it doesn't matter how much stabilization you got, it's not going to work. So I'm going to have to use the assistant quite a bit in order to get these lines perfect. Initially, I didn't think I would use the assistant as much as I think I will in the future, and as much as I have already. But it turns out that as long as I'm working with a tablet, a graphics tablet, is a hell of a lot different than working on a pencil and paper. When I work with pencil and paper, I rarely feel like I need to draw a grid, especially how basic these grids happen to be that I'm working with. There are different grids. There's grids that happen to work with cartography and such like that. And that's, again, the book that I purchased that's in a different language, that book teaches how to do cartographic projections in order to provide yourself with more interesting, more varied sort of images with your curvilinear perspective, and I am so looking forward to learning that. So yeah, anyways, like on a pencil and paper, I rarely feel like I need to draw anything that has to do with a grid, whereas when I'm working with a graphics tablet, I wind up drawing the grid every time. It seems like it's just trying to trace my stylus over to the vanishing point and kind of eyeballing it towards objects. It doesn't work the same way as it does on paper, at least for me. Maybe if I had a Cintiq, things would be a little bit different, but I don't know. Anyways, I keep on talking. I keep saying I'm done. Anyways, please like, share, and subscribe. And if you didn't like it, then please like, share, and subscribe anyways. Again, there's a lot more to the video. Feel free to watch. I think you'll like it, and have a great one.